All right, so on episode 5 today, we're going to talk about I Got a Guy's experience from coming from a dealer to finally making the decision to jump ship and do their own thing. And so Kyle and Matt here are going to talk a little bit about their experiences with that, some of the challenges they've had. For a lot of people that have been asking me questions out there about what do I do when it comes to opening a business? How do I start? When do I decide to make the decision? What's going to happen if I fail? I think that they can answer a lot of these questions. They're only about a year in right now, so they're still experiencing some of that, but on the other hand, they've also, it's relatively fresh in their, in their journey here, and so I think they're going to be able to answer some of that. First question for these guys is going to be more about why you decided to leave the dealer you were at and what prompted that. Because just to give you perspective, Matt was a service writer for 15 years, right? Ish.
2 dealers, yeah.
And then you were a mechanic for about how long? 10. So
10.
you can imagine being in an environment where you're doing the same thing for 10 or 15 years. That's shout out to Ruben out there. He's doing something very similar. He's been doing the same thing for 11 years. We had dinner last night, so you know exactly what I'm talking about here. And we were talking about how you decide to change your career, even if it's the same arena, but something where you're doing it for yourself and taking that jump. So without further ado, let's have these guys just kind of give us a little bit of a backstory of what they have and go from there. So.
So started and been at the dealer for quite some time. Very safe job. We're very good at it. Kyle being one of the best technicians as far as production and just being able to provide for your family. I think there's a lot of consistency that was there, and we decided to throw that all kind of to the wind. I think it came down to, a lot of people ask us, why, and I think it came down to we both have young families, and we decided we can continue to do exactly what we're doing and expect the same exact results with a ceiling. Did we want the next job above us? Did we want to just continue to go to work there day in, day out? And we probably could have, but I think a lot of us decided that we needed some different challenges. We needed some different flexibility. There wasn't as much flexibility. You're kind of scheduled being there. So what we decided to do is kind of looked at each other, and it wasn't just like an overnight decision. It was something that we kind of went back and forth about, and I think ultimately kind of just looked at each other and said, okay, I think this is, we got to jump. Let's do it. And we got to, don't know until we tried. Didn't want to look back and wonder, to just play it safe. So,
what if?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what it was. And
Did you guys ever ask yourselves the question, because I get this a lot with people that I talk to this, is this something I want to do at the dealer where I could do this until I'm 55 years old? Or for you, specifically for someone like you that maybe is a little bit more laborious on your body versus a service writer, right?
There comes a point where, it really takes a toll on your body. You can only do so much. But you have to look back of, do you want to work all the time, or do you want to be able to have time with your family? And when you're your own boss, you can actually, control your schedule. You can do what you have to do. But if something happens, you can be there for your kids at the same time and show that, the doors are going to stay open. You're going to cultivate this business into something that you want it to be, and know at the end of the day that this is what you built, not what somebody else has built, and it's just a job to go to every day. This is, this is our career, this is our livelihood, but there's more to it because of the fact that we can go in each day and say, we built this. You feel accomplished with it, and what's the worst that can happen? We can fail. It's the only way we're going to learn from it, though.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because I think that there is a misconception and there's some truth behind making your own schedule, but I also feel that your schedule is you have flexibility when it comes to things like, I have to take care of my child. Matt has a child at home that he has to spend a lot of time with, and so does Kyle on here. And so they obviously can go do things like pick up their kids from school and all that. But I would also probably make the argument that there's been times where you guys probably didn't want to necessarily work till 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, there's a limit on that. That flexible schedule is pretty limited.
I was just going to say, I think a lot of people mistake flexible schedule for time off and workload. And one of the things that just because you're not some people, you go to work and you have a start time and you have an end time. Well, when you own your own business, you don't. And and for us, we wanted to make sure, take some pride in what we do. And so when you do that, you want to have control over a lot of the different things, all the different things that are going on. And so I think for us, it was flexibility and being able to make sure we were there as fathers, as husbands, in the ways that we could be, but at the same time, be able to create this thing that would create more flexibility, more so in the future, if we did everything right now. So again, I think that's probably the biggest misinterpretation of you own your own business, you can go do whatever you want. You can go take 3-hour lunches, and you probably could, you just won't own your business for long. But it's more so just how you spend and when you're spending your time.
Prime example, I had a preemie. He was 2.5 months early. But a lot of that time, when they're in the NICU, you have to go back and forth. And a regular 9-to-5 job, you're not going to be able to do that. But the nice part was that we could schedule customers around the fact of, I could come in the morning, I could work on a few cars, I could leave if I had to, or if we didn't have anything scheduled the rest of the day, I could take off, go to the NICU, spend that time with my kid. Granted, they are napping, they're doing a lot of tests when they're that little, but being there is the biggest thing. So the fact that you can run a business, be able to step out for a little bit, keep an eye on your family and your kids and stuff, and be there when it means the most. Not necessarily every waking second, but the time that it means the most and the most important times you are there for. So whereas a regular 9-to-5, you miss a lot of that stuff, and now we're both there a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, that's not my phone being out in front of I think you guys had an episode on this too, is need to make sure your family's on board with exactly what's going to be happening.
As much as you can.
As much as you can. I think there's a lot of things you can't prepare for and you just kind of roll with and adapt to. But the support of your family, your significant other, making sure everybody's on the same page with, obviously family first, but at the same time, there's a lot of different things and a lot of different moving parts, especially in that first year, that you are always going to have. My wife hates my phone. It's like out. Like my wife hates my phone. It's always out. But it's just something you got to do. So it's something that we've you're always on.
I mean, a couple examples to give to these guys, just to give them some props, for lack of a better term, because so my company, Green Guard Services, uses them for 20 plus vehicles for service over the last 6, 7, 8 months. And is that they never stop working, and again, that's within reason, but I can remember even a couple specific instances where I've texted Matt, and he's literally, or even Kyle, and they're in the desert on the weekends, actually finally spending some time with their families, and yet they'll still respond to me when they actually get the spotty reception, right? Or in a scenario where just a couple weeks ago, because I know a lot of people at Hardcore Fitness listen to this, there's been 2 people now, both I think maybe are on Sundays. I know one of them was at like 6 or 7 p.m. and she had some car troubles, and I've luckily become somebody that people like to go to at the gym when it comes to needing certain contacts. And so they reached out to me, and Kyle actually responded to her at 7 p.m. on a Sunday. I dare you to find another mechanic that does that. And that's this kind of the culture they're building in their small business right now, is that we're going to take care of clients, because the reality is everybody that knows that's had any form of experience with a mechanic or any service for that matter, that it's not that he might not be, even though he is much quicker, he might not be that much better of a mechanic than maybe the guy down the street, right? What makes him different, even though he is the fact that he's responsive, he explains things properly to the clients. He'll come to us and say, this truck has 130,000 miles on it, but here's the safety issues we need to solve, and I'm gonna say you have to do them, Nate, or to the person that handles my fleet. Here are the things that you could do to it, but it really is dictated on how long you can have the vehicle, right? That alone, that discussion is something that's not normal in the industry. And so that's what their differentiator is, or one of them from my perspective. And so I think that's what they've built to be able to help their business grow. And so there's going to be uniquenesses in every business, and there's just going to be responsiveness. And again, when you're talking about a blue collar world, I can tell you firsthand, because I've lived in it for 10 years now, similar to them, just in the hood cleaning, greasy, nasty overnight world. That same world has a terrible responsiveness, no different than mechanics. Mechanics don't get back to you. They hate when you call for oil changes, because oil changes make them no money. In fact, it's something where they just want to start kicking things. But the reality is if you have the mindset that service, if they do it right, will lead to additional work without
overselling.
Thank you, of hey, you need this carbon air filter of your oil plug, like that never doesn't even exist, right? Then you'll have somebody for a long time. But a lot of the blue collar worlds, I met with a plumber this morning, same concept where he's trying to do that too, where it's when you have those blue collar environments, a lot of them forget the side of the service side, and they just say, oh well, I'm really good at plumbing, or I'm really good at being a mechanic. That's fantastic. Unfortunately, that is the minimum expectation of you just doing your damn job. It is. Yeah. And so the reality is it needs to be more than that, and I think you guys are doing a good job at that. So why don't we talk a little bit more about the first year, some of the challenges you guys have had, because I know you're doing your best at that, but I also know businesses can be a whirlwind the first year. And in fact, I submitted a clip today, I think it'll be actually posting in about an hour, talks about how I got a call at 2 o'clock in the morning at our last facility of catching fire. Yeah. And I was literally brooming out the soot in my sandals, at 2 o'clock in the morning. Shit like that will happen. It just will. So I don't know if you have any fun stories in the first year or things that you've had to challenge with, but.
We've had a few. We're not all perfect. We make a few mistakes here and there. We had one where, last minute thing, car comes in for some service work, we take care of it. They're getting ready to leave to go out of town, and, fuel's leaking underneath their car at 9 o'clock at night. So, hey, this is what's going on. And we ran right out there, and to this day, those customers love us
Let's
to
be
death.
very clear, that was at 9 o'clock at night. Kyle was at this man's house, okay? So I think, to touch on the weirdest things happen in the planet, cars are never on a schedule as far as when they break. It is never a convenient thing. That's why there is an avenue for us to have a business. Now, what we were doing was in a business that was all, what we were in our past was all numbers based and how much, can you get per person? We're more of a relationship. We would like to not only have you, but your family or your friend, and we want you to feel confident in recommending that. The only way we get that is by going out to your house at 9 in the morning or 9 at night to, deliver. We have people who will just randomly say something terrible has happened to their car and they have to pick up their kid at 2. If nobody understands picking up their kid at 2, the stress of that, and I get that. And we will be at your house. Like, that is the commitment we made, and how we're going to do this is we're going to care. And that's turning a business or an industry that, says they care, or, into actually showing it, into doing it. And I think that's where we're different, and it's why it's working. And I did not show up at 9 o'clock at night, but Kyle was there at 9 o'clock at night.
How do you make that scalable though? Because this might be a tough question for you guys. You maybe don't know this answer yet, but this is something that I face challenges with. And at my size with 60 employees, there's not every employee is going to care like I care. Just sure. It's not reasonable. But in the mechanics world, even 10 mechanic shops, a relatively decent sized shop, how do you get 5 or 7 of them to care, to want to do that? How do you build that culture? Do you guys have ideas behind that now? And what do you think that might look like?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I think it's...
You have to find the guys where it's a passion. It's not just a job or a career. It's they want to do it. They take everything as they take pride in what they work on. So it's, if a car goes down the road and you see it on the side of the road, you want to be like, oh, I touched that last, and now it's
cars will come in, and Kyle will, from 10 years ago, remember their license plate. Okay, so we need to, it's weird, but we need to find, and we actively look for people that have those same qualities. We're not going to hire somebody that's going to be brand new to the industry. That's really not something in our comfort zone. We're not going to have somebody that has a different ulterior motive. Our goal is for you to be at our place, to be excited about it, and to be infectious about it. And we're not a prison. So if it's not that and it's not the right fit, we're not going to keep you. You're not going to be.
We want the person that sees a Sunday night and doesn't go, shit, I have to go to work on Monday morning. Yeah. I actually want to be at work on Monday morning. I actually look forward to the work week, as well as spending time with your family and doing other stuff outside of work. But you can find those people. They're hard to find, but you do end up finding them, and then you hope that you can retain them and keep them, and keep growing as a business and as a community.
Happy employees breed the type of work and the culture that you want. And
that's what I hear from you guys. Is all culture. You got to find out. You need a mechanic. I would guess, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, that for your environment, the culture piece is far more important than the experience piece. It was very clear that you said you don't want a brand new mechanic, but even if somebody that's maybe decent, you can make them better. But as long as they fit your culture, it's far more important. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody's always, when they're looking at companies, it's how much will they pay me, how much will they this, and I think for us, we want this to be a success for everyone, and we want, the culture that we have at our place to be infectious and to everybody to have it, and that should come through, and therefore, the base of people that trust us with their cars, they should, feel that. And so, we'll see. It's a year in, so far so good, but,
You definitely learn a lot, and you learn what you don't know. It's running a business isn't easy, but you pick up every day is a new day, and you learn, hey, this may not be my strong point, but I have to fix it. Customer service, you have to know what to say and how to say it. That's where I learned from him. It's little stuff that you add up over time that it shows you every day. Okay, you can joke around with some, you can't with the others, but as long as you treat them as you want to treat a friend, really, but show also has to be professional at the same time. It's going to work out. People are going to want to come back because you made that lasting memory with them. Whereas you walk into Joe Schmo's garage and it's some greasy dude comes walking up, hey, give me your money, I'll fix your car, here you go, have a nice day. That's not what we're about. We're about, you want to come by. If you're driving past and you see us, we're out there, you stop by and say, hey, how's it going?
He may have grease on his fingers still. Just to be clear.
But, it's one of those things where we wanted to keep a happy, open environment, and a year into it.
So talk about your first couple of weeks and how that looked and how you started versus where you're at now.
Scared. No, it was confident, but I think when we first got into this, it was one of the, I think we felt it, and you probably already seen this at the gym, is a lot of times as you network into people, you start kind of knowing which friends you have that do certain things. And our phone constantly rang because when people thought of automotive stuff, they thought of Kyle and they thought of me being in that field. And so we knew going into this that if the phone continued to ring, we were going to be okay. Yep. We started as a single bay shop. And our goal was to do, can we help, and we set these realistic goals that we thought, can we help this many customers in a year? Can we get this many people to trust us? And to now, the first, few weeks of that was, 1 or 2 or 3. And you kind of were sitting there like, okay, this is good. Because the nice thing with automotive is that, usually if a family has more than one car, and so then okay, hopefully in 3 months we get that car back, or you get different people's plans, and fast forward to a year out, we've doubled that number we started with, which is good. It means we're doing something right.
You doubled your goal?
We doubled our goal. We've expanded not once but twice. So ultimately, we started from nothing, and now we're starting to build some trust with some people that are. Do
you remember your first car that you did at that space?
Yeah, it was a GS 300.
I went up on Instagram faster than I could finish the car to tell people we were a thing.
What kind of service was it?
Front wheel bearings.
Yep, front
Hubs and wheel bearings on a GS 300.
Yep.
Of course, he's remember if he remembers license plates from 20 years ago.
Yeah, his name's Joe. He still comes by.
But that's one of the nice things, we've connected with not only the car, but we could tell you everything about, let's talk about Joe, we could tell you everything about Joe. I can tell you what he does for a living. I can tell you what he did for a living. I can tell you what's going on with his wife. I can tell you where he lives.
How many days
and this is off cuff. We didn't talk about this before. I can tell you everything about Joe. And that's really most of the people that we've helped. You get into that. And so I think the passion you have to have for what you do is more of a passion for people, and that's the service industry, man.
So why don't we talk about that a little bit, because we were talking about that on a previous podcast. I don't remember which one it was, but like for me, it's a little bit different than other people. My passion isn't cleaning hoods. Mm-hmm. My passion is business,
right.
and employing people that maybe don't have the opportunity to get jobs at other places as easy, and seeing people succeed and build confidence. Because a lot of the employees we have, maybe they haven't had a lot of success in life, or they clearly didn't say, hey, when I'm 20 years old, I want to clean hoods. Maybe a couple of them that really enjoy it do, but that's just not generally what people think of, right? So, but I enjoy to see like people succeed, which is why I like the gym community, right? And I see people like getting promoted, and we have this one particular guy, Steven, that works for us, that was having a lot of issues. I don't know if it was at home or what was going on, because I don't keep a big tab on the situations that are down with the employees down there. But they were talking about how he corrected some of those issues, and all of a sudden just literally like a switch just flipped, And the guy went from like being tardy all the time and all these things to now being one of our best employees and our best foreman. And that doesn't happen all the time, right? It doesn't happen. But the reality is that we started building confidence, and when you start giving people a little bit more responsibility, they can go one of two ways, right? And he really took off with it, and he takes accountability, and he's a really good employee, right? So my passion is that type of stuff. Just telling a story like that's awesome, right? Because the guy's a really good guy, and he's working hard, and he's, his stuff going on at home, and he's still being successful at work and all that fun stuff. Same thing, that's why I started an apparel business and a credit card processing business, because business for me is my passion, and helping people. So for you, I think it's probably the cars themselves, and but then for you, maybe yes or no, it might not be the cars, it might be the customer service and the people, right? Correct. So talk a little bit about why you guys' passions are so drastically different, yet they work well together, and that's where because a lot of people don't realize that it doesn't necessarily have to be the service itself based on what you're doing, right?
I think you just got to care about something, and then you got to find out how that plays into what you're trying to do. And Kyle grew up on cars with his dad, and his mom will still tell stories of him walking into the house full of dirt. My kids will come to our shop; they'll be disgustingly dirty at the end. But as far as his clearly automotive. I don't like even dirt on my hands. So I'm not the guy that's going to work on your car. You don't want me working on your car. No. But I have a passion for people, for helping, for building a community, and that community supporting each other and supporting everything around it. I met Nate, and everything that Nate does, I look for restaurants that might need help. We have this pool company we do this for, and do their fleet stuff. And if anybody talks to me about a pool, you know what? I got a guy, and that's a lot of
where the name originated from.
That's where we come from. Is just, I think, because we don't step on each other's toes on that type of thing. He has a passion for and is good at what he does, and I have a passion and am good at what I do, and I think we've found this way we
found that niche that fit for both of us.
To mix that, and it's different. We're friends outside of this, but in the actual shop, we each have our roles and we have objectives, and we hold each other accountable for that. So it's pretty easy when you both have the drive.
So that'll lead into our next episode. So I'll ask this one question, and then we'll finish up. You guys talked about. So the next episode, we're going to talk about partnerships, because I have some very positive and some very negative experiences with partnerships. I've had 1.5 fail. I'll explain, and then my general manager downstairs very, very good success with that. So how did you guys, being friends, because that's a very difficult thing to do, decide to partner and differentiate the responsibilities? At that point, we'll finish up, and then we'll talk about that in more detail in the next episode.
Started back following what you're good at, what your passion is,
Well, yeah, so we had similar roles at the place we worked at, where we met. Kyle worked on cars, and I told him, what got authorized to work on cars. Okay, so take that at a real basic level, and move that, and we became friends. But then, yeah, I've been a part of some other companies. Working with friends is hard, and so you have to have some really real conversations with each other about, hey, I need you to hold me accountable, and I need you to tell me your truth on things, because I think, when you're working with friends, you have tendency to kind of, I don't want to rock the boat on something like that. But, anyways, met Kyle, he doesn't hold much back, so that's been pretty easy for us.
It's actually a very positive thing.
It's a huge thing, and I say it jokingly, but no, we're able to communicate in a very similar experience from where we met, but also we had those conversations in the beginning that we were going to not only do this well, but we're going to make sure that we make each other better through it. And so
it's a goofy way to call it, but it's realistically, if you go into business with two people, say Matt and I, for example, I'll tell my wife he's my work husband, because you have to be able to open up to that person about everything that's going on, whether it's finances or stuff at home.
They should know all your stuff.
All kinds of stuff. Your wife's going to know the same amount that your business partner knows, because if you're not straightforward to them, it's not going to make full circle. It's not going to help out, because now all of a sudden it's going to affect how you run the business, how you make choices on big business things, and it may be, no, let's not really make that jump when it's the perfect time to do it. So
I can tell you that's critical, and we'll get into that next episode. But the importance of transparency it's not important. It's you don't have an option. If you don't have it, it will fail, right? And that is from before you even start the business. You got to understand at least a pretty comprehensive level what you're working with. And one of my previous partnerships completely failed because of that. And it's my fault, but also the fact that the other person did not want to divulge everything, and we learned pretty quickly. And so we'll talk about that next episode. But partnerships, mind you, friends or family, very tough, but can happen if you make things very transparent. So this is episode 5. I got a guy, not I've got a guy. I got a guy. I got a guy. Matt, I screwed that up. So Kyle, Matt, thanks gentlemen for episode 5. Say what's up.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.